from Scotland. They will introduce a video from their project, the Peace Cranes. And please let us put up the video.
Hi, are you going to put it on or put it on?
And I'm speaking to you from Edinburgh. I'm one of the two curators of the which exhibitions and events, our and the peace movement.
I'm sorry, your sound is not working sustainably. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think her sound is a little bit missing sometimes.
Yeah, we can't hear it.
Can you hear me? These two words.
I can hear you well, but I cannot hear your colleague. But she doesn't realize that we cannot hear you.
The nuclear weapons.
Iliana.
And the extinction of the species.
Iliana. Sound is very low.
Just mentioned here.
We can't hear you.
Our inaugural online events as part of the Peace Cranes project.
Can we excuse you for a second? We have a technical problem because the sound is on and off all the time.
Катастрофа, що торкнулась всього світу. Наслідки та уроки Чорнобиля мають бути вивчені. З 6 по 10 жовтня запрошуємо на міжнародний форум «Чорнобиль» з інтерактивними виставками. 15 країн, понад 50 спікерів, 5 днів онлайн. Ліквідатори, науковці, представники державних та культурних організацій розповідатимуть про вплив Чорнобиля на людство. Міжнародні експерти Японії, США, Німеччини, Британії та інших країн дослідять наслідки соціальних, культурних та економічних напрямів. Відвідай форум онлайн на сайті CHRNBL.com. Завантажуй додаток «Чорнобиль». Чорнобиль – глобальна техногенна катастрофа, що торкнулась всього світу. Наслідки та уроки Чорнобиля мають бути вивчені. З 6 по 10 жовтня.
Name is Kobe, and I'm speaking from Edinburgh. And together we get here.
No, the situation is no better.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well.
And it's encapsulated in the two words in the title. And which supports the find the on hand to weapon, and on the other the interconnected thread.
I can see the problem right now. This is interpreter. As I start interpreting her, I can't hear her. So we're probably on the same channel. That might be a problem.
Here. Our inaugural online events as part of the Peace Cranes project included theater performances at a time when the global peace community...
Oh, no, I don't think it's going to work, unfortunately. I think because we are in the same channel, that's why when I'm talking, I can hear nothing from her.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Can I put...
I was just about to ask that.
This event is especially pertinent at a time when the international community of artists and researchers and policymakers commemorate the 35th anniversary of another nuclear disaster, that of Chernobyl nuclear power plant. So our thanks go to the team behind the scenes, to CHRNBL Forum and exhibition, to our fellow curators Pavlo Kotenko and Yuri Polansky. for this invitation to join in from the UK. Thank you also on behalf of my co-curator Hedda Kiernan, but also on behalf of Peace and Justice Scotland, the initiator of the Peace Cranes project, who is an independent charity building a culture of peace across Scotland since 1980, and one of the organizations that campaigned for a global ban on nuclear weapons. Justice is one of the many organizations that comprise ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, which in 2017 was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And just before I hand you over to Pam, and who will introduce her new artist film, Chernobyl, Mon Amour, I would like to take you on a quick tour of the current exhibition in Edinburgh that is part of the Peace Cranes project. And it's a monumental exhibition designed by Janice Hart, and our artist Janice Hart, transforming the entire heritage space of St. John's Church into a bird sanctuary, a home to 140,000 origami cranes, all representing our fragile planet, where each origami crane stands for each of the 140,000 lives lost in Hiroshima, but also referencing the loss of species and the bird's extinction, using the origami symbol of the red-crowned crane, which is now endangered due to human activity. And the final thing here to mention is that we curated this exhibition to coincide with two important dates. The opening coincided with the 76th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima on the 6th of August 2021, within the context of the Just Festival, Edinburgh's International Festival of Human Rights and Social Justice. And the closing will mark COP26. That's the UN's climate change conference to be held in Scotland in early November, as a call to action. And our exhibition hopefully will resonate as a call to action to reclaim the icon of peace, this icon of peace, into a plea for addressing the climate crisis and protecting biodiversity. And on this note, off to you, Pam, for Chernobyl, Mon Amour. Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. My name's Pam Skelton, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Chernobyl, Mon Amour, a short film that I've recently made. The film was the material of the film was shot in 1993 and 1995 on a visit to the Chernobyl plant, but also to the hospital, and part of a bigger trip to Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania, where I was really kind of looking at the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust. Chernobyl, Mon Amour is a third part, or the third work that I've made from the footage that I shot in those years. Most personal. It follows my personal feelings, experience, record of the journey around the Chernobyl plant, nuclear plant in 1993. In 1995, I returned and focused on the hospital and the liquidators, which was part of a program, an exhibition at Camera Work London on the 10th anniversary of the Chernobyl accident. So it was shown in 1996 at Camera Work, and it was curated by Helen Sloan, who also came on the journey with me in 1995. Thanks to Vladimir Babeshko, who was then the director of the Institute of Clinical Radiology in Kiev. I think that the vulnerability that I felt both as a human being visiting such a notoriously disturbing site for the first time, and then going back and visiting the hospital from which resulted in a series of interviews that some of the liquidators agreed to share their experiences. But Hiroshima Mon Amour brings together another disaster, the bombing of Hiroshima in 1945. It links to my work, my minor work in relation to this astonishing film directed by Alan Resnick, and with a film script by Margarita Duras, who is one of my most favorite authors, powerful authors ever, and the music of George Pusco. It brings together our reluctance or our inability to actually kind of re-enter the space of these disasters, but the necessity to try to do so. What it lends to the work, and why I thought it was important to use, was to try to incorporate the vulnerability and the continuation of disasters in a way that can bring a more personal perspective to it. So the protagonist, the female protagonist in Hiroshima Mon Amour, she visits the hospital, she visits the museums, she feels deeply involved and affected by her experience. On the other hand, her Japanese lover tells her that she knows nothing of Hiroshima. And it's that dynamic between the visitor and the actual event, the history that's interwoven into the film, and that's really it. This is a black wormwood.
Opaline.
Opaline. CHRNBL in Chernobyl.
No.
No.
Okay.
No what?
Were exposed 200 millirentgen per hour. It was a huge dose. Theoretically, it was assumed that all of them will be dead. They are safe. You can touch it.
The mushroom.
Yeah.
Mushroom. This is a poisonous mushroom.
Maybe a little bit.
I don't.
this? A black wormwood?
Opaline.
Opaline. CHRNBL was in Chernobyl.
No.
No.
Okay.
No what?
Определяем. Вот этому человеку нужно или лекарство, или лекарство. Потому что канадцы когда-то приходили, так, они сказали: Господи, они уже примитивно. Вот это мастер-банальное, так сказать, подъем или ортостатическая проболевка стал определять импульс.
Special drugs for emergency.
J'ai vu les actualités. Le deuxième jour, dit l'histoire. Je ne l'ai pas inventé. Dès le deuxième jour, des espèces animales précises ont ressurgi des couleurs de la terre et des cendres.
Would you want to see some words?
Okay. Hello.
Yes.
They're very nice.
Fine.
Yeah, but it's nice and warm. It's better than the director's office.
Yeah.
Director's office is cold. Mm. I didn't dare film it really. I mean, I had it on, but I didn't dare kind of go through it, and just too intrusive.
Tu n'as rien vu à Hiroshima. Rien.
J'ai tout vu, tout. Ainsi, l'hôpital, je l'ai vu. J'en suis sûre. L'hôpital existe à Hiroshima. Comment aurais-je pu éviter de le voir?
Tu n'as pas vu d'hôpital à Hiroshima. Tu n'as rien vu à Hiroshima.
Thank you ever so much, Pam, for this journey back to our history. It's on Sunday, on the 10th of October, we're going to have a dedicated panel discussion regarding reintegration and the responders. So we're going to invite very interesting people who were real first responders in the tragedy. We're gonna have the people from the hospitals who were receiving those first patients. So we're going to be discussing those times, how difficult it was, and how their life went on after this. So on the 10th of October, I would encourage everybody to visit our discussion. It's going to be really interesting. We're going to see unique people. And now we will talk with Pam about their project, please.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry, so some technical problems with the start, and thank you very much for your project and your participation.
Thank you. I think that there's a problem with the sound. It's not syncing, so I'm sorry that the film, that the sound was kind of a bit out of sync. I think I'm a bit out of sync as well. Maybe it's because I'm in London. I don't know, but I'm sorry that it's not as good as it should be for you. But thank you very, very much for inviting me, and I will certainly tune in on the 10th of October. I don't really know well, I mean, to give you an idea of, where I'm coming from, I'm interested in multi-directional memory, in bringing histories that shouldn't be, that have connections onto one page, not necessarily not mingling them, but kind of making references to them, because so many of us see history as being inside a bubble, separated from the rest of history. So history, kind of memory, forgetting is on my agenda. And I've worked with projects such as conspiracy dwellings, looking at kind of the references, working with the Stasi archive, mapping the town of Erfurt for its conspiracy dwellings. My work is not very new media-ish, and Chernobyl Mon Amour was shot on a handheld camera, going round the Chernobyl, on the tour of the Chernobyl plant. It's old Hi-8 footage, and that's what I use to create this little film. In the earlier works that I made for camera work and kind of showed in a variety of other places around the 2000s, and first decade of the 2000s was the kind of the interviews with the liquidators and a journey around Chernobyl with a French narrator called a friend and translator, Bernard Höfner, who created a really beautiful narrative to accompany that journey. I found it quite an emotional experience looking back at the rushes and working with them. This is actually the first time that I've used rough rushes, kind of unusable ones, really. But I did want to communicate the vulnerability that I mentioned in kind of earlier, and not protect myself. I think that it's interesting for an artist to dare to show some of that, the uncertainty with which, you know, we approach projects. I've also done on this kind of work around Holocaust and Palestine, Holocaust and Nakba, trying to reconnect some of these histories. I would benefit from working with more people, you know, who have better technical skills than me. I'm a painter, really, in the past, but you know, since the mid-90s, you know, I've been working with video on these historical kind of art documentaries, I suppose, you know, as a single kind of as an artist, but, you know, without a team. So I'm certainly not a filmmaker. Is there anything else that you'd like to ask, or you can help focus me?
Yes. Yes, you said that you was working.
Ви казали, що ви
of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, and also you are working with the Chernobyl topic. Can you say something about the similarities of these topics?
One of the reasons why I wanted to go to Chernobyl was because my great-grandparents on both sides came from kind of, you know, that area, and the journey in 93 was very much about seeing the sights, seeing Eastern Europe, and what the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust actually looked like. Because, you know, us living in England, living in Western Europe, you know, there was no chance of going there. So, you know, I kind of grew up with an imagination of what Vilnius, you know, might look like, you know, what Spola might look like in Ukraine, what Lviv might look like, and everything was totally different. So it totally blew my mind, and it really kind of changed my practice. When on the journey, my time in Kiev, you know, I also had heard about Babi Yar. I'd visited Spola. I visited Chernobyl that contained in the past many synagogues. There was a huge Jewish community there. And, you know, some of these interlinking histories were of interest, or of great interest. And as the years have gone by, those interests have become more manifest. So the Chernobyl disaster has not got a direct reference point to World War II or the histories, but yet it is a part of the aftermath of the Soviet Union that we're experiencing. Those histories, you've been talking about, all these, you know, great speakers have been communicating what's happened in the past, what's happening now. And I think that we need to bring these histories a little bit more together. And, you know, my two visits to Kiev and the Chernobyl power plant, you know, were actually a part of that. that journey of making these links. You know, so one day I'm at the Chernobyl power station. The next day I'm in China.
Thank you very much for your speech. It's nice to meet you. And we have another speaker already here. Is Martin from Slovenia. Martin, hello. Do you hear us? Немає? Дві хвилиночки.
Let us wait for a couple of minutes for Martin to...
Чорнобиль – глобальна техногенна катастрофа, що торкнулась всього світу. Наслідки та уроки Чорнобиля мають бути вивчені. З 6 по 10 жовтня запрошуємо на міжнародний форум «Чорнобиль» з інтерактивними виставками. 15 країн, понад 50 спікерів, 5 днів онлайн. Ліквідатори, науковці, представники державних та культурних організацій розповідатимуть про вплив Чорнобиля на людство. Міжнародні експерти Японії, США, Німеччини, Британії та інших країн дослідять наслідки соціальних, культурних та економічних напрямів. Відвідай форум онлайн на сайті CHRNBL.com. Завантажуй додаток «Чорнобиль». Чорнобиль – глобальна техногенна катастрофа, що торкнулась всього світу. Наслідки та уроки Чорнобиля мають бути вивчені. З 6 по 10 жовтня запрошуємо на міжнародний форум «Чорнобиль» з інтерактивними виставками. 15 країн, понад 50 спікерів, 5 днів онлайн. Ліквідатори, науковці, представники державних та культурних організацій розповідатимуть про вплив Чорнобиля на людство. Міжнародні експерти Японії, США, Німеччини, Британії та інших країн дослідять наслідки соціальних, культурних та економічних напрямів. Відвідай форум онлайн на сайті CHRNBL.com. Завантажуй додаток «Чорнобиль».
Hey, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Super.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And today we're speaking about new technologies and cultural heritage. And you have a museum of transitory arts. And
Yes.
you can tell us more about your project, please?
So yes, thank you for the invitation. I will present basically on the topic of how can art and new technologies commemorate or add to the historical events through the not just Malta Museum of Transitory Art showcase, but basically through the Monument Group, which is basically working with exactly this cultural heritage and new technologies. Can I share screen with you? Let's see. Yes.
Так, я думаю, так.
Yes, I believe so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I would basically give two examples of Monument Group and the Monument Project. Monument Group is a multidisciplinary research artistic group that works in the field of architecture, public space, cultural heritage, but also art and new media. And it consists of, from left to right, of architect Nika Grabar, architect and theoretician Miloš Kosec, me, myself, Martin Bricelj-Baraga, and visual artist Nea Tomšić. And basically, basically Monument, as the name says, it deals with kind of non-existing monuments, erased monuments, forgotten monuments, and so on. It deals with actually 20th century public spaces, monuments, and architectures that have lost their original meaning or symbolic meaning because of social and political changes. And for more info, maybe readers or viewers will be interested you can go to the nonument.org website, and we have a database. So far, we have covered Central European countries such as Slovenia, Austria, Czech Republic, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Cyprus. But we are also planning to work on Ukraine. So definitely Chernobyl will be one of the sites of interest, of big interest. But maybe I would present like two actions that that show the methodology, artistic and research methodology, and use of new technologies as well. First is basically McKeldin Fountain, which was the first monument action, which we did together with Nea Tomšić and two American artists, Lisa Moran and James Mayhew, in Baltimore, in United States. And the story of Monument 1, McKeldin Fountain, is basically this fountain that was in the center of Baltimore. That's basically was a very beautiful piece of architecture. It was something between a park, a fountain, a sculpture even, a living sculpture. And it was why it's important, because basically it's located in the center of the city, and it was designated as a free speech zone. So, for example, you could stage a protest there, you could make a manifestation in the very center. So it was very important for many people from Baltimore, for many different civil groups. And it's also known, very known spot, because it was like after first killing of black Afro-American by police, the Freddie Gray, the protests started there. Black Lives Matter started there. Occupy Baltimore started there. Women of Baltimore. So you have a lot of really important groups, and it's an important public space. And due to this, obviously, and also because of the state of the fountain, the city of Baltimore decided to demolish it. Few years ago in 2017, and basically then we staged like a lot of with the theater festival there. We staged like also a protest against the dismantling of this fountain, and ironically it was dismantled. Then it was destroyed on the 1st of November. And what we did as a artistic group, because at that time we still didn't have drones and laser scanners and everything else that we use now for basically archiving and preserving monuments. We were actually joined by a group of students of architecture from Baltimore, and basically made a sketch of this. I can show you of this memorial. We made like we were basically scanning by just measuring and combining with map, because usually this kind of maps are not existing anymore. So we were we measured the whole fountain, and we created a 3D model, which was serving as a base for the application that we realized. So basically now the fountain is not there in this space, but it exists as a augmented reality application. You can download it both for the Androids and iPhones, and basically it looks like this. I mean, you can go in the fountain, you can go through the fountain with your iPad or iPhone or Android phone, and you can explore the stories of fountain by walking through it. And then inside the fountain you can also hear or discover stories of activists or people that were living with this fountain. So for example, here we have Laura Lucero and Margaret Musgrove from Women in Black. You have also many other people, even DDM, important rapper from Baltimore. And on the other hand, this staging this let's say application or the iPads starts to be an act of protest on the side. So yeah, this is one example of the action that we did, and then the other activity or the other action was 2 years ago. It was called From Nowhere to No Place, Pioneer Railway. I don't know how you say in Ukrainian, but we say Pionierska železnica, so Pioneer Railway. The story of pioneer railways comes from basically from Soviet Union, from the times of after Second World War. And actually the pioneer railways were, I guess you had it also in Kiev, or maybe you still have it. We will have this in questions and answers.
Так, є таке.
Yes, you have, huh? And,
yes, we still have it.
So it was like an educational tool for the new generations to learn about how to build or how to manage the society or the country. And so in Ljubljana, we had, that's why we named From Nowhere to No Place. Our pioneer railway started to be built in 1948. And it was built very much in this non-planned way. It was like it had to be fast, it had to be immediately, and it was built very fast, but with no real plan. It went from nowhere really to no place. And first it was really like very, there was a lot of enthusiasm. People went there, people, you know, were really enthusiastic about it. But since it didn't have the original purpose was that it would go around the city, that it would have also like connecting to the zoo, or that it would have some interesting sites. But it went just from close to my place, close to my home, to another place. So it's like just the hills and no, just the let's say empty fields. So in the end, actually, it became quite public lost interest, and after 5 years, it was basically closed down. Even after the conflict of Yugoslavia with Stalin, with Soviet Union, it started to be a lost case. But one of the interesting things is with Monument Group, we usually work with stories of people. It's not only about this, let's say, how the monuments look like, but what they mean, what they were meaning for people that were living in that place. So basically, right now, I will show you how it looks right now. Basically, right now, the Pioneer Railway is just a bike path in the woods. It's used by many people. They're going with their bikes there, but nobody knows that it was Pioneer Railway. So what we did was basically on 25th of May, 3 years ago, we made this reenactment, or like a sound walk, or let's say like a theater play with performers, and people would be equipped with headphones and players, and they would walk this the Pioneer Railway, and actually hearing the stories of real pioneers. So we connected with the people that were building and managing the Pioneer Railway. Now they are grandfathers, grandmothers. They're not like so young anymore. And it's very interesting because, of course, with this dealing with socialist past, some people really, you know, they like the past of Yugoslavia. Some people were against it. But the story of Pioneer Railway is very important part of their identity, and they're all like really into it, and they gather every year. And so this was really interesting process to work with these people, and basically catching the stories, making this narration that was written by Nea in the end, and basically transfer it or present it to younger audiences of Ljubljana. And basically, yeah, so this is some of the shots from our walk. Basically now, even like we try to commemorate this event, because 25th of May, when we did this walk in the woods of Ljubljana, is symbolical for us because it was birth date of Tito, our former Yugoslavia president. So 25th of May was also Day of the Youth. And actually, 1 year after this commemoration, we also did exhibition about it in the City Museum of Ljubljana. And then even this year, on the 25th of May, we opened the exhibition, new monument exhibition in the Museum of Architecture and Design. And we showed actually this specific story of Pioneer Railway in Center for Contemporary Culture in Dnipro in June this year. So actually it's ready to show somewhere else in Ukraine. It's now there, the exhibition stays there. So I guess my time is nearly up, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for your presentation and for your involvement. Your project is really interesting, and in Ukraine we also have, stories like Pioneer Railroad and a lot of monuments after our Soviet past, and Chernobyl also. It's looking not only like monument, no, it's like one of the symbol of the Ukraine, and even our nation are built around it. The understanding on what is Ukraine, what is to be Ukrainian. So Soviet past and the rethinking of the Soviet past, it's really important for us. I have a question about your project about this Pioneer Railroad. When you was planned this project, what do you think about your audience? Who it must be, and what do you plan? How they can participate with your project?
So when we planned it, actually, I mean, this was pretty open because we were planning the project with a very popular festival. It's called Lightning Guerrilla Festival, which is Festival of Lights in public spaces. So as you can see, also we used a lot of lights in our actually we staged it so when people walked, the whole woods was enlightened with different lights, so it was kind of movie setting or somehow. And actually what you see is also pioneers from the future, so-called. So it was very open actually, because also these pioneers came and their families came, but also our main audience, I would say, it's students and then people from, I don't know, 30 to 50. It was very open, but actually the problem with such projects is also like availability in a way, like so this was like a one-off project, and after the let's say the enactment or after the walk, it was not possible to repeat it in the same manner. So now we are really thinking of making like an automated version where solar panel sensors would have lights, and we would make an app so people could just walk through it any time of the day. But yeah, we applied it to tourist agency of Ljubljana. It was not successful, the application for now, but we are still planning to work on it. But yes, I would say that since we created a story or a narrative that it's in a form of radio play, even kids were going for this walk, and I think it's like we try to spread the message or spread the story to the most broad audience as possible. It's not really just for artistic audiences, let's say.
Yes, why I ask about it, because it's similar to the Chernobyl, because in this topic we also have, wide audience who that we need to involve in this project in the topic of Chernobyl, and also we have audience of the liquidators who have connections with this topic in the past. So it's like your story about this railroad, because you have these old pioneers, and they have a lot of remember about this time, and connection. It's really heartful sometimes, and really interesting to see how they what they think about that after a lot of years. Also, I want to ask you about what think audience in Slovenia about Soviet times? Did they, regret about that, or they tried, to remember something good, that trees was more green, and water was more tasty in that time, or something else?
Yes, I mean, Slovenia is very divided society, I would say, more and more, even today. It's very crazy for me that people who run this country, like politicians, are using this. So you have, like, I think I would say, like, more than half people that really appreciate the previous system. For us, we refer to it as a Yugoslav system, not like Soviet. We had our own, let's say, version of socialism, which was basically, well, it was quite, of course, freedom of speech. There was not like full freedom of speech. You could get also in jail for saying something against the government or the president. But we had quite soft version of socialism, because you could travel also to Italy or Austria for getting some goods. People could go to holidays for a month long. I mean, this doesn't happen anymore in capitalism. In a way, you have all the choices, but you don't have so much time. So basically, people are starting to also appreciate, of course, values that were common in previous system. But you have also very big, let's say, very big sentiment against that time. So basically, our whole contemporary politics, instead of being like really focused on innovative solutions in business culture, whatever it is, it's still based on this division between previous system, let's say, like kind of left-wing parties, and the new right-wing parties that were against previous system. So it's like, yeah, that is definitely the situation here. But I think new generations more and more are fed up with this division of society, and yeah, hopefully new parties are coming and new movements. But was that the question? I can answer.
Yes, about that, yes. Because in Ukraine we have similar situation.
Так, і ми маємо ще одне запитання з залу.
We have one more question from the audience, please.
So my question is your possible Chernobyl project. So I would like to ask you, so the final result of that project, do you plan to attract more people, more tourists, more visitors to the Chernobyl area, or maybe something in opposite, to prevent that process? I mean, visiting Chernobyl as a place of danger, maybe, Thank you. Sorry for my English, not so perfect.
This is question for me?
Yes, is this question for you?
Yes.
Yes, they're asking about if you will do something about Chernobyl. What the main idea of that, and what do you think about? You want to involve the people? Do you want to involve people to the Chernobyl, or you you will ask about the zone is restricted or something like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I can answer clearly to this question, because usually as a group, or even me as a artist, I usually have to go to the location and see and feel and talk to people. And basically I was never in Chernobyl, and I've been in Ukraine only to Dnipro. But if we would be engaged, let's say, monument group, if we would come there, what we usually do, the methodology is that we work with local people, especially local researcher that knows a bit more about context, stories, art historical or just historical data, and then probably we would find a better way how to present it or what kind of form it would take. For now, yes, we would be interested to work on this, and obviously I wouldn't say, from my intuition, I wouldn't say, oh no, don't go there or don't think about it. We need to think about this kind of stories. We need to spread the awareness about this kind of phenomena. I would just mention also that I didn't watch the Chernobyl series, but I've been to a concert of Hildur Gudnadottir, the Iceland cellist, and the visual artist Teresa Baumar, they did incredible job just artistically expressing this phenomena, but very abstract. I've seen it in ex crematorium in Berlin 2 years ago. It was a beautiful piece of art, let's say. But I would say, yes, we are interested to work on this topic, and I would definitely involve local people that were living within the area, that still live probably through creative manner, so people can see something else maybe than just the cliche stories about it. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
If you never been in Ukraine, so you're welcome. We will be really happy to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation, and ми продовжуємо.
And we will now continue our forum, and probably it is high time to also present Ukrainian projects that have been working on the Chernobyl matter for all the years. We would like to tell a bit about our project called Artifact, about how it started, and even show to you a little bit of a movie about how it happened. The Artifact project started as the media art event that had to attract attention to the Chernobyl disaster, to the information, to the concealed information and propaganda that led to thousands of deaths. And then after 32 years, and now after 35, we knew very little about Chernobyl. But having a lot of problems and challenges of fake news and fake information, the Chernobyl case is something important to learn. What happens if the information is concealed? What's going to happen after 30 years since now? And through this research, we came to very difficult challenges that we're facing today. And we understand that the Chernobyl catastrophe information side is none less shocking than the radiation one. And in this respect, as a result of this project, we decided then after to run other projects. But since we started back in 2018, when there was so much fake news spread about Ukraine in the international media, that's why we wanted to attract attention of the media internationally to not to forget that truthful information, genuine information is not always on the surface. It has to be looked for. And for that, one requires take efforts. For that, we decided to run the first project called Artifact. It had a great media company which told about the fake news, what mineral literacy is, why it is so important. And then it all started with the first event that we organized at the center of Pripyat, which is a ghost city today, which was participated by 200 media representatives and bloggers from all around the world. we invited them to activate the artifact media arts sculpture. It was the sculpture made by Valery Korshunov. It was the sculpture with artificial intellect, which read information from the modern media. It actually accepted the sounds of Chernobyl, and there were 20 different screens, and it would put on the screens different videos generated from the archives from Chernobyl from those years and right now, by showing and sharing the key message that life is changing, but the information like radiation is also invisible and can be both useful and it can do a lot of harm and pose threat. We then had a lot of publications, and it was an experiment performance where media representatives were directly engaged in the performance. They were invited to Chernobyl for the whole day, for the tour. They had to understand and make parallels between the then's and today's fake news and deceitful information. They were traveling around Pripyat, and then in the night they heard the sounds, and then they were actually invited to activate the artifact. Artifact had to do with the picnic on the roads on the side of on the roadside when Strugatsky brothers wrote about their phenomenon. Such artifacts and abnormal zones were depicted by them. And one of the artifacts events happened back in 2018 to bring up a message for the media representatives that they are responsible and they have to be very conscious because they are conductors of where the nation is going. Through mass media, we have an opportunity to influence the entire society. I would suggest now to first of all look at the video. Just watch it how it went, because I can tell you for hours, but it's best to see once than hear twice. That was the day, and that was the event. Light for the Truth, an intellective arts sculpture, was presented in Ukraine.
In the
Chernobyl zone, they presented a new art project. An interactive art object appeared in Pripyat. Post-apocalyptic event happened in the Kiev region.
И вы знаете, недавно нас постигла беда. Авария на Чернобыльской атомной электростанции. Она больно затронула советских людей, волновала международную общественность.
Зона — это очень сложная система, но стоит тут появиться людям, как все здесь приходит в движение. Исполнится ваше самое заветное желание.
що знеструмлена ще понад 30 років тому Прип'ять засяяла величезна артскульптура.
Скульптура, игра света, архивное видео и анимация, электронная музыка и звуки Чернобыля.
Electronic music, art installations, colourful animations, all these create a haunting post-apocalyptic atmosphere at a new exhibition near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It's called Artifact. The event sets out to highlight the importance of sharing and spreading information. In the wake of the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, the Soviet authorities covered up the true devastation the reactor explosion caused. Now the ghost town of Pripyat, where the exhibition is being hosted, and the surrounding areas cannot be inhabited for more than 24,000 years.
Це було відео про те, як пройшов
This was a video about the Artifact project, the very first project that aimed to attracting attention of international media to media literacy and to proper understanding that very few things changed over 35 years. We managed to attract a lot of attention, including international communities. We received more than 300 publications in 13 different languages, and we realized that Chernobyl is an interesting issue for the rest of the world, and that project was before the HBO's Chernobyl movie series, and it was a very interesting point that the issue of propaganda and that problem was discussed during the project. And then after, when the movie series were released, those issues became well known for the whole world. So it's very important to highlight historic positions through culture and modern technology by state-of-the-art means, because they engage the audience to rethinking and understanding the use of this information. They understand lessons learned, and they realize that everything has to be done to avoid that from repeating in the future. As we're watching some of those developments today we have free access to the internet and information, but we still continue to live with myths and fake stories that exist and get disseminated every day and every second. That's why we even dedicated the whole section in our application to fake news and fake stories. And we started working with Chernobyl issue through artistic means. After the project, we had a request to make a broader presentation of the project itself, its artistic features. So Artifact project was continued by Artifact Chernobyl as a media art exhibition. First, it was presented physically on the Riverside station in Pripyat. We had 15 exhibits that were part of the international exhibition. And then after this exhibition, in the following year, we expected it would actually be presented in the other parts of the world, but due to COVID, we had to make it fully virtual. But this only enriched the audience. We received a lot of virtual exhibits, even probably the biggest virtual exhibition ever existing with such a number of exhibits. And that is the first virtual exhibition on Chernobyl. I would like to show you the video about the evolution from the first exhibition, Artifact 34, and Artifact versus Artifact Chernobyl 33, then 34, and how can Chernobyl Artifact exhibition 35 look like. Thank you. Series of events all over Ukraine in a city center. The first exhibition took place in center of Kiev. On the Kiev's river port. It is the first media art exhibition on Chernobyl. More than 12,000 visitors. Dozens of school classes. Virtual reality. Laser installations. Video projections. Historic documents. Tours. 17 artists and 20 exhibits. Very interested youth. Performances. Theater. Unique location in the downtown area of the city of Kiev. Music program every night. Music performance. Positive feedback from experts. Visitors, responders, and partners. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the project had to be continued online with 3D modeling in Chernobyl. The art residence for the artists. Remarkable locations. Exhibits right in Pripyat, 30 locations in town. Access through browser from any device possible, from any point on the planet. Virtual locations of Chernobyl. Newly created worlds by media artists. 50 artists engaged. Digital exhibits. Unique media activation. Night projections of the Ukrainian and international, and of the flags of Ukraine and of other countries in the world. The Chernobyl confinement. In 2021, the 35th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster. Chernobyl NPP. What is on the fire there? We had an explosion. We had a blast. We had a big disaster that happened in Chernobyl nuclear power plant, Gorbachev says. Wherever you are, wherever you live, you need to bring up your children. You need to believe that soon here we're going to have the greatest world possible for our children. Artifact presents the immersive exhibition in 6 different cities. While in 4 different cities, it's going to be virtual, and in 2, real. The unique format with mobile shelters, located in the downtown park areas of cities, at the leisure areas, interesting interactive zone for the whole family. Real exhibits from the 2019 exhibition. Virtual exhibits on the TV screens. Virtual exhibit area for VR technology. Access. One-stop virtual and real exhibitions. Urban format. Art pieces in the photo area. An interesting event for diverse audiences. Broad coverage in the media. All right, this was our vision that we embodied regarding what we embodied already back in 2019. In 2020, we had to do that online, but that also had its own advantages because we managed to attract many interesting artists and made the first virtual. They created first artworks, digital, like Maria Primachenko, Arsen Vladov, Ivan Marchuk. And those artworks are very much interesting, and they will be available in the Chernobyl app, as well as in the new exhibition that we talk about later. And now I'd like to give the floor to Valery Korshinov, who's the curator of the Artifact project. He's the main inspirer and artist in it. He creates a lot of digital masterpieces like the Chernobyl lights, But one of the most interesting projects is the Sounds of Chernobyl. Went through well-known musicians, through music and sounds, through songs. We raised the issue of Chernobyl again for the broader public. This is called Sounds of Chernobyl. And I would like to talk to Valery directly and please tell us, how do you work with those artists? Because this is not just when you get the artist to the exclusion zone and you just let them go. Some write texts, others are actually filming something or taking pictures. In this case, there's deep penetration into the Chernobyl issue, into the theme, into the most painful issues, and into the understanding of each and every audience that has to do with this topic. That's very important. I realize you then allow the artists to dive into the topic, and then those artists can actually share their own insights. So tell us how it works, and how did you start this project, and what was the response? And from the artists, was there any buy-in? The project started back in 2017 when we were recording the Sounds of Chernobyl for Artifact. This looked more like sound design. Several times we traveled to Chernobyl, to Pripyat, and to the exclusion zone area. In general, we were looking for interesting places. We were recording the sounds of the wind and of the water. Inside of the NPP, we took the musical instruments. They played different sounds, and we recorded. Christoph Attias from Taylor Pop Music, who was the nominee of one of the French awards, and then the first sounds were put on the track. He was there here with us in 2018 in the first Artifact. Was very well welcomed by press, by the media. I think music very well transverses the feelings and information. Each and every person likes a certain musical style. I don't think there are people who can say, I hate music, any kind of music. You still listen to something. And through different musicians, through different genres and styles, you can actually engage many audiences, many different ones. And that's why in 2020, we decided to start the Sounds of Chernobyl project. We engaged 6 Ukrainian musicians that are on the rise right now. After a year, we've seen how they grew as well as the project does. So we took them to the art residencies. That's a small tour in there. Just for inspiration and to fine-tune them. Some of the musicians already knew something about Chernobyl. Somebody knew nothing about it. They said, I never had any conversation about this in my family until you wrote to me and offered to go to Chernobyl. They heard about the movie series. Some of those watched them, some of those didn't. There are some people who said, I know very little about it. I would like to know more about the case. There were also people who had some personal stories to share, but they didn't want to share it, actually, at the beginning. So that was the whole picture of how our artists looked like. So it was very great, because with every artist, you need to actually work closely one-on-one with all the details, with explanations. That's why we were trying to engage them, to work individually with each and every one. Because you can't just say to the musician, okay, that's a nice music, but I don't think you need to rewrite the text. No, I think the artists, they are really emotional, they're really sensitive. They can sense everything. They might not perceive all the information and digest everything, but they very well digest emotions. because this is who they are. This is their essence. This is their nature. They feel much more than the other people. And you know, that's why so many artists travel to the exclusion zone, and there are so many culture projects in there and coming from there, because that place is impressive. I have to say that it is impressive, but I don't think there are so many projects. We don't have a lot of artistic projects. We just talked to Martin, as you may remember. There are many international experts and artists that I'm talking to. Actually, art is very deeply rooted in the society, especially in the Western civilization. Martin, for instance, said that they had done this project with a fountain. If you want to come to Ukraine and say we're going to make a project around the fountain, they're going to tell you you're crazy. Why would one want to make a project, a digital project around a fountain? I think Chernobyl is often very triggering in this society. If somebody is doing anything, even if that is not very good, still there is some publicity around it. So the story was that, yes, of course, we will engage those artists. They would create songs, and it's very good that a song is a very good format where you have the words and the music, and plus we attach the video clip to that. And that's a very good combination of several media. This is poetry, this is music as well. They're put together in a song, there's something else, plus the video, and that creates a different layer, a different space. To just create a song about Chernobyl, this is much more complicated than just creating a song about something else. Music can be very nice, it can sound well, but to create if you want to create it with the lyrics, you know. I know Chernobyl project has already 6 different songs. They're all freely available on the Sounds of Chernobyl YouTube channel. So let us watch how those artists traveled to the exclusion zone, how they were engaged directly into those art residences, and what kind of emotions they had. Please, guys, let's put up the video.
Це відвідування Стасік, української співачки.
That's Stasik, a Ukrainian singer.
Значить, наступна срака буде ще.
Well, okay. I think the next disaster will be even worse. It means many more people will die. I think there will be another tragedy that will make people learn from mistakes. If a child doesn't know how to take the first step without falling down, he or she will fall down. But once it will fall down on the floor, another time, if no conclusions are made, then you're going to fall into something worse, into the fire. If lessons are never learned, the situation will be getting worse and worse.
Виставу творчості Цитаєвої. Випічна вистава.
Все було, не можу взагалі уявити, що немає рівня. Типа він же є.
Та часть, она под водой была, соответственно, на ней очень много потенциально. Да.
Я не, коротше. У мене в сім'ї, наприклад, не було розмов про...
In my family, I never talked about what happened. Nobody ever told me about it. And the Chernobyl disaster, what is radiation, how it works. I mean, I could not even imagine anything like this.
Нехай 15 років тому вона там. І ось так.
Rethinking the disaster through the modern cultural projects. For that, you need to know at least something about the disaster itself. This information is so much closed. It's so much covered from the public. It's like a wound which is never examined and never purified, never sanitated. Not even to say through artistic means, but even scientific means. It's like a big wound which is not properly treated, and it still stays and it rots.
Все вести к нам, горе, боль, страх, чтоб спины дорожно смешались. Я строю дом из капель красы, из света преломленного улыбкой. Я строю дом на почве лучших звуков. Прости мне твою практичность.
In 2020, Ukrainian musicians recorded the sounds of Chernobyl.
Так, такими були поїздки.
All right, those were the trips. All the 6 trips about how the musicians traveled there and what kind of thoughts they shared can be watched on the Sounds of Chernobyl YouTube channel and on the social media. And you can also compare or study the opinions of those artists who traveled to the exclusion zones. And you can then check whatever they created after. I know the project has its continuation this year today with the support from UCF, the Ukrainian Culture Fund. Is this also going to be about immersing people, art residences, etc.? We're more focusing on electronic musicians, and the music compositions will be introduced as electronic tracks. Electronic music also has big potential and a great range of opportunities for passing the emotion. So it's going to be interesting to see the results. We're already traveling with the guys to the exclusion zone. We normally talk to them before and after. And also they go to the art residence and they feel all this, they sense it, look for locations, they look for the moment, the right moment. And then we also shoot the video streams instead of video clips. So they perform there live, we film that, and then we add 3D graphics. And we'll be presenting those as movie clips, as video streams from different locations in the exclusion zone. Like I said, we're going to add some of the VR locations for those electronic musicians to have more opportunities for emotional expression. Because if a musician, they did the video clips, they could create a story behind. In some of those clips, they are not even showing up. In some of the others, they're just telling the story. In some of the other, they are just displaying their emotional content or actually their impressions from the exclusion zone. While if the musician performs right there on site, this helps actually create a totally different set of emotions. It looks quite and sounds quite impressive. We're helped by 3D graphics, laser scanning, computer graphics that they use in the movies and in whatever artworks. So it's going to be something really interesting. Some very progressive people are already doing this for quite a long time in the West, but I'm sure we're going to show something interesting, even for them too. Yes, it is really important that those songs have become the results of those culture products, and they cover a lot of audience. And let us watch one of the most popular musical clips from the last year. I know they will soon release their album. So this album will be available. And now let us watch the clip of the band called Cascade. Had most of the feedback we received. They have very young audience. They are very popular, and thanks to them, they rose this issue and engaged the young audience to the discussion, to the narrative.
Так, це був один з кліпів.
This was one of the movie clips, musical clips that we prepared last year. All the others you can see on our Sounds of Chernobyl YouTube channel. Now I would like to invite our partner from the United Kingdom, Piotr Bukovsky, or Botskovsky. Hopefully we're going to hear Piotr. Thank you very much, Valeria, about your story regarding the sounds of Chernobyl. And now let us wait to be continued.
Ecotopia is a utopian concept of Paul Stamets, which involved a variety of maverick fungal biotechnologies and other inventive practical solutions for improvement of the environmental conditions of human life. Project of Mycotopia is pursued by Stamets' company Fungi Perfecti in North America. How can the expertise contribute to the Chernobyl exclusion zone? One of the key aspects of Stamets' myco-restoration strategies is the filtration of contaminants out of the environment through absorption of those elements by fungal bodies. When the Chernobyl nuclear power plant melted down in 1986, the radioactive plume it emitted contaminated much of Europe with radioactive elements. Afterward, some mushrooms highly valued for their edibility, such as boletus, commonly known as the porcini, contained unacceptably high levels of many radioactive elements, particularly cesium. Stamets proposes that boletus mushrooms could mop up cesium, as it was established that cesium's isotopes bind to the mushroom pigment. Thus, mycofiltration of Chernobyl exclusion zone could be performed by strategic stimulation of fungi growth and mushroom picking with an aim to scavenge radioactive contaminants. The question I'm asking here is, if radiation-feeding fungi can neutralize the contamination in Chernobyl exclusion zone, then maybe future technological civilization can be also powered by the dark vitalism of microbial entities. Speculations about the amorphous life processes of microbial matter in the deep space of the Earth are outlined in the globology narratives of Reza Negarestani, who describes the blob as a lubricant of telluric lube, upon which everything moves forward, spreading smoothly and inevitably. In his book, Cyclonopedia, Negarestani experiments with different forms of narrating a philosophical fiction. He focuses on the microbial substances dwelling under the surface of the planet, whose existence can be tracked back to the beginnings of life, and with which have been influencing or lubricating the human cultures from the telluric underground all the way to the civilizations of high technology and media communications all over the surface of our planet. This 21st century speculative philosophy references the classic of Soviet science fiction literature by Strugatsky brothers. In their visionary interpretation of Chernobyl disaster, Roadside Picnic, they play with an idea of a zone, a mysterious area influenced by alien visitation that literally breeds unimaginable new technologies. There was an obscure fungal liveliness to the post-visitation zone, as it reeked of everything, of lousy fungus that was growing on the zone, drinking on the zone, eating, exploiting and growing fat on the zone, and that didn't give a damn about any of it, especially about what would happen later, when it had eaten its full and gotten power, and when everything that was once in the zone was outside the zone. The transgressive non-human performance space of the zone was filled with the damp expanse of slime. The technological development of humans in the Strugatsky's narrative originates from the risky explorations of the fungus-infested area. Following the vision, I allow a thought that perhaps Chernobyl exclusion zone should be infested with fungus in order to turn it into a future civilization of Ecotopia.
Дуже дякую за такий виступ. Я не знаю, Петр на зв'язку нема, так?
Ні,
Thank
поки
you
що
so much. Do we have Piotr with us online? No, I think we can get in touch with him a little bit later during the interview. Well, Clot Magazine is a very progressive media platform from the United Kingdom that specializes on contemporary art. They are very progressive in this sense, and they support a lot of progressive projects, including exhibitions and digital. It's very good that they're engaged with this project as partners, and they are also conducting exhibitions. So in the mobile app, they support the forum and also provide us with content. The video that we've shown, Piotr is not only the media artist, but also he talks about narratives with visualized images, making parallels with Tarkovsky's Stalker and Brother Strugatsky's novel. This depicts the Stalker's travel, referring to the visual images that happened with the Stalker in the end, where there was a room and there was sandy dunes. So this was like a journey through the dunes of Gravel, where he would come across those new unknown things, and he never calls them abnormalities. Then he makes references and parallels of those in literature and films. It was discovered recently that there is one type of fungi that can be used to deactivate deactivate cesium isotopes. So we can see the similar. There are many layers in the video, and you know, a lot can be told about this, and this talk can be endless. But thanks for the opportunity to share this dimension as well, and thanks to our partner. I would also like to stress that more about the Chernobyl fungi studies can be heard tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to have a scientific panel. We're going to have a lot of renowned scholars, and they will be making presentations about their research, and including those from Chernobyl area, reserve area, and also in this center of reactor, about what processes are going on inside there, and about the fungi. We're going to hear everything about it with fungi. And here's my pleasure to introduce another project that works with the historic heritage a lot. And these are contemporary drones and robotic technologies. We know that drones have become part of our life as super devices for making movies and for delivery purposes as well. Already in Ukraine, we have a very cool company that is called Zbroi. And they use the unique format when they shoot videos about the Ukraine's cultural heritage. Are they online right now? Yes, they are. Hi there. Hello. Can we also put up our presentation on the screen?
Привет.
Хлопці, хотіли б запитати,
Okay, guys, we would like to ask you to tell a bit about your project, how it actually appeared, and what kind of historic buildings or sites you have worked with already. Well, actually, Zbroi Drones and the Zbroi Films project was founded very easily together with a brother of mine, Andriy Zbroi. we are very much interested, we've been very much interested in shooting with drones for quite a while. When we purchased the first drone, we were so fascinated. It was so interesting. So we started developing that. Later, we learned about the FPV drone filming, and actively 18 months ago, we dived into this issue. And now we actually find ourselves at the level that we are right now. What kind of buildings have you worked with already? What kind of cultural heritage sites you have worked with? We've worked with many already. We worked with the National Opera, Chernobyl Museum, the Holodomor Museum, many opera houses. We are working with the Ukrainian railway, with their infrastructure. We also work with the Kyiv subway, with Kyiv Metro, filming their infrastructure. We just came back from filming their depot in the left bank of Kyiv. So we have another active project right now to film Chernobyl sites. So I'm sure we're going to see some of the interesting content. Can you tell us a bit about how those FPV drones differ from the regular ones? What kind of stuff those drones can do that the others cannot? How does it actually evolve in the whole world, and how often are those used? Why is this technology new? Well, as you probably know, how a normal drone works. It actually climbs up, then it moves right and left inside. It is very stable, but the FPV drones, they're not just flying, they're flying however you want. They can turn around, and they are very powerful. They are very movable and very high. There is their precision of control. So we now have an opportunity to actually approach the building, shoot a fresco, fly inside, shoot a ballet dancer on a stage and that is all happening seamlessly. This is the example of our design. This is our development. We produce them by ourselves. We just fine-tune them manually here, and that's the main difference. With regards how it evolves in the world and what's the evolution here, there's an interesting fact that the level of development of FPV drones and FPV movement is roughly similar in the whole world. And in Ukraine, we're very much advanced. We even have the developments in Ukraine which are not available overseas, especially those used in cinemas. Thank you. I think it is worth watching. What kind of videos you're now talking about? We shall continue after this video for our audience to be clear what we're talking about here. You know, it's always better first to show and then after to tell. This is like talking about music without hearing it. Yeah, it sounds so nice, but no, you need to listen first. Again, this is a technology of, you know, extended experience, because without the technology, we would never receive these shots and these footages. So I think let us put up another video and then we're going to continue. Okay, let's do another one.
Так, дякую дуже. Я хочу наголосити, що зараз заборонено на
Thank you. I want to emphasize that nobody is allowed to enter buildings in Chernobyl. Not because of radiation, but because something can fall down, the ceiling can fall down on you. This is dangerous for life. So, but thanks to this video, you can actually watch and feel the atmosphere of the place from the inside of it. This is one of the famous locations in Pripyat, so thanks to you guys that by the 35th anniversary, we know that with the support of the ministry and the state exclusion zone agency, the whole series of videos and footages were shot to just actually record how the exclusion zone looks like. And we have another video that has to do with a large-scale facility or site, which is the Duga radar. This is an incredible one. I would encourage you to see and to watch it and see the opportunities we can provide. That's super. Thank you. I have a question to you. How much time do you need to know how to fly, to learn how to fly the drone without bumping over something? Well, you can never be ideal. I'm still learning myself. But on average, this is around 10 hours on a simulator, on a computer with a remote control from the drone. And then it's difficult to say, actually. It depends on your patience and depends on your skills. Maybe 100 flights altogether, 100 battery, completely discharged. Well, we are now watching many things about Chernobyl because our focus is Chernobyl. But how many views did you have in the National Opera video? I don't know. This is probably one of the most popular videos we have. We can watch it. I can take a look at it right now. Well, why we started to actually film the architecture, because when the lockdown started, all those places were locked, they were closed, nobody visited them. So we just wanted to document, to record some of those sites for historic purposes. That's why with Ivan Franko at Ukrainian Drama Theater, we decided to actually make a footage about the Opera Theater and then about the Holodomor Museum. We're showing the street where it is, with all the comments on Facebook you can read. And all the comments were like, wow, I never knew there was a Chernobyl museum over there, or Holodomor Museum, I'm sorry. It was something like that, you know, there was the geolocation effect. But how many views did you have from the Opera Theater? Was it 1 million or something? Well, there was 1 million in the foreign, on the foreign platforms, but we ranked #1 in the international competition, so our national opera was really seen by so many people, definitely more than 1 million. Well, and they learned about our incredible National Opera Theater. Well, it's great to show something like this because it's very much demanded outside of Ukraine. Because when you have 1 million of visitors, views, that's great. And what you said is also good, that the culture institutions and organizations, they not only record things and they can save and preserve the original look of their sites, but like the Holodomor Museum, for instance, people know it's somewhere. We were talking about this yesterday, because many people know about this museum, but they do not want to go there really. Just to go there on a Saturday with their children, they think it's not the best decision. And not many people really know it is located in the very downtown area. It looks nice and has very picturesque exposition. There is a park around it. These videos also resolve these issues. They show great places to be, great places to see. This helps people realize, okay, why shouldn't I go there with my family? It's going to be a nice opportunity to spend some good time, despite the negative emotion this can bring up. But these videos also help handle negative emotions. We have very interesting statistics from the references and feedback from our friends. We actually give these videos free of charge to those organizations. They can use them wherever they want. The most interesting and nice thing for us, they say about the increased number of demand, increased number of visitors, because some people saw the video on Instagram, on Facebook, and other platforms. There is a much better conversion into real customers. I mean, this is actually a documentary technology, basically speaking. And definitely video cameras were one of the tools for that. Because this was a real miracle when it appeared. And after this, they started using these moving pictures, and then after they decided to make it in real artwork. So right now it's very quickly handled. It's reflected from technology. There's just the art is just one step away from the technology and vice versa. Over the last year, and because we are the developers as well, we developed the drones, the unmanned flying vehicles. These technologies are developing so fast. It is just incredible. Even this year already, the trends have changed so greatly with engine, with the electronics and everything. You know, it's like a new phone appeared once every year, right? And this is the case right now as well. But drones are actually totally reworked. I mean, every next model is just absolutely fantastically different from the previous one. There are 4 generations of drones. There are 10 times bigger drones, which now allow people to put very sophisticated, quite heavy cameras on them to even make movies, real movies, I mean, full-length movies. Yes, these are the technologies that really expands our understanding and our mind. Thank you very much for Sviatoslav for getting connected to us. We invite all the visitors, all the audiences, all our participants to go to the Zbroj's website and to watch the videos and learn more about the most interesting places around the world and specifically in Ukraine. Well, today we're going to already be finishing our event, our Chernobyl International Forum, and we were talking about the use of the new technologies in highlighting historic events. And here's something we would like to show to you in the end, to tell you more about the Chernobyl app, which now is called just Chernobyl, full stop. You're going to see how useful the application can be, and you can see how our exhibition works. So I would like to ask to actually put up Maria Tintul to tell a bit about Chernobyl app project. Tourists from 86 countries from all over the world came to visit Chernobyl. Chernobyl is getting more and more popular for the visitors after the movie series was released. By the end of the year, they plan to attract more than 100,000 tourists. It's one of the most popular sites, which is the exclusion zone, and is going to be available in a smartphone very soon. So Chernobyl app is just a simple application accessible for or compatible with Android and iOS devices. It uses a lot of VR technologies with interactive content. There are scanned 3D models, and also there are audio guides, active photos, and exhibits from the Chernobyl Museum. Our objective was to develop the application to collect all the exhaustive information about Chernobyl in one place. Chernobyl is located only 100 kilometers away from Kyiv, but foreigners seem to know much more about it than we do. Dozens of buses and many tourists from all over the world, and that's the case every day. The guides are showing the most painful spots in the area. All the tourists are given the dosimeters, where they can check the real radiation rate. Look at the right-hand side, there was radioactive ash here. And here you have white birds. You're not going to see that anywhere else. Chernobyl will be digitalized. By the 35th anniversary of Chernobyl, they decided to create the Chernobyl application to reach the effect, they had to spend a lot of time and effort. So the team of enthusiasts many times had to visit Chernobyl to do the job. We're going to show all the locations that are available here today. We're going to tell the stories about the places. We're going to show the current condition. We'll measure the radiation rates. And also we're going to share some of the information through the VR solutions. First of all, this is going to be the 360 solution in some of the areas that cannot be accessible by the people, but the drones can have access to it.
У ньому історичні довідки і хроніка подій на
You can find historic references and all the chronology of the events. More and more information about the different facilities in the exclusion zone. The signal is actually sent in direction to the object, and then it reflects backwards. That's how the Duga radar worked. It was intended to be the early warning system for the ballistic missiles. The local people were only suspicious about the radar like this available, but it was intended to actually keep track of the missiles that could be launched by the enemies of the Soviet Union. Right now it can be seen right from your homes. For this, you need a smartphone and downloaded application that will be available after several months. To make sure you can see that from the phones or tablets, beforehand, it has to be digitalized. We are now scanning parts of this radar. This is the most detailed work. This is laser screening and laser screening of this entire facility. Then it's going to be created and put into the 3D model, and after processing and rendering, it's going to be available. The preliminary result works like this only. The team of the city's enthusiasms started developing the mobile app. They go and scan different sites and facilities. A photographer, a cameraman, and an expert. Dmitro is a drone operator. His objective is to make footages from the drone. We're now shooting for the application. We're shooting different sites from different angles, and our visitors will be able to see fascinating footages with fascinating experience. It looks really dangerous because this whole thing has rusted for the last 30 years, and you never know when it's gonna fall down.
спорудження не можна реставрувати і
The
відновлювати.
exclusion zone cannot be restored or renovated, so it is changing over time. That's why it is very important to record and keep track of all the facilities as they look right now. Yes, because everything is becoming very much forested. There is a lot of greenery all around, and it's growing every year more and more. This is why Pripyat can disappear in the next 10 years. This is what's happening to the buildings in Pripyat. Hundreds of thousands of visitors, mostly foreigners, have been traveling and continue to travel to watch the site. Because of the wildfires, about 30% of the exhibits and signs were completely destroyed. The 30-kilometer area shows you the aftermath of the wildfires that had happened this summer. Bare trees were totally burned down, and that probably was 40% of the entire forested areas. This used to be the house, which was quite okay, even though nobody had lived there since 1986. But after the wildfires, you can see that a lot of the buildings were demolished. Some of the others still survived. The application will be of great use for the Chernobyl visitors. It works offline. In a separate part, you're going to have all the maps available. Here's the radiation contamination map here. The main objective of this application is to collect all the official information available today in one spot. This is a one-stop solution for you to read, see, and make a decision if you want to travel there, how to get prepared for it, how to buy tickets, and even how to look at the list of and find the list of guides working here. The Ukrainian developers would like to collect all the available and relevant and genuine information in one single application. We're going to tell about the story, about the disclosed materials, secret files, and everything. Developers complain that there are a lot of myths around Chernobyl, so they tried to actually find genuine information to be put on the app. There, the users will be able to find the disclosed materials and data. I would like to actually tell a bit about our application regarding what's inside and show to you what you can expect from downloading this application to your device. First of all, there is history, there are news from the exclusion zone, what is told about us out of Ukraine, I mean beyond Ukraine, and also inside. The next part is fakes. We're talking about the most famous stereotypes and fake stories about the radiation in the exclusion zone. And also, we're trying to break those. There's a big part called stories. We have the stories and the disclosed materials, pictures, and exhibits from the Chernobyl Museum. So we're also telling stories of real people who witnessed the Chernobyl disaster. In the art section, you can find about books, movies, exhibitions, and other artworks dedicated to Chernobyl. The next part of the application will help you actually research the exclusion zones map, how it looks like. There are a lot of stories about what those facilities were before. And there are some of those digital items. You can watch a 3D model available on the app. And you can actually see a lot of information and very realistic virtual models. So through VR technologies, you can travel in the 360 format. So you can actually find most of the locations on a place. For that, you need to actually press 360 function, and you're gonna actually download the location that you're now looking at. Some of those locations can be even seen from the air. There is also a contamination map. It is actually showing 2 different periods of time. This is exactly during the disaster and also after so many years. Please keep track of our project on chernobyl.app website and also follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. We're so much grateful to UCF for the restless support in the implementing such an ambitious project like this one. To achieve the effect, a lot of time had to be spent, so the team of enthusiasts had to travel so many times to the Chernobyl area.
Один из самых популярных среди иностранцев туров по зоне отчуждения будет доступен в смартфоне.
One of the most popular tours for foreigners to the Chernobyl area will be available on a smartphone. Everybody can actually travel to Chernobyl without leaving their homes.
Їдуть в Україну.
І ось набігло до кінця наш другий.
Here we come to the closing of our day 2, Chernobyl International Forum. Thanks you very much for watching us online, and thank you for actually watching us on chernobyl.com website. You can see the footage over there and our webcast. Thank you very much for watching us on social media. You can listen to an individual speaker. You can also read it in a textual format. And I want to remind you that tomorrow we're going to talk about the scientific projects in the exclusion zone. We're going to talk to the famous local and international experts. They will tell you a bit about the prospects of developing Chernobyl areas. The curator of the next module will be Katerina Baranyuk, accompanied by Katerina Shuvanova. We will have a lot of scholars. And I would invite you to come to Chernobyl app and the social media where we're going to announce our agenda for tomorrow. So see you tomorrow and have a great rest of the day. Thanks.
Глобальна техногенна катастрофа, що торкнулась всього світу. Наслідки та уроки Чорнобиля мають бути вивчені. З 6 по 10 жовтня запрошуємо на міжнародний форум «Чорнобиль» з інтерактивними виставками. 15 країн, понад 50 спікерів, 5 днів онлайн. Ліквідатори, науковці, представники державних та культурних організацій розповідатимуть про вплив Чорнобиля на людство. Міжнародні експерти Японії, США, Німеччини, Британії та інших країн дослідять наслідки соціальних, культурних та економічних напрямів. Відвідай форум онлайн на сайті chornobyl.com. Завантажуй додаток «Чорнобиль».